Peace and Islam. Welcome unto the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Department for the Communications, Moor's Internet Televideo-Network, or M.I.T.N for short, which is a part of the Imperial Broadcasting Agency. For the record, today's date on the Amexem-Moor calendar is Peace Day, the 12th of Dub, the year 301-630. I am the Noble Tinawad Il, and I serve as the lead video broadcast agent, and I shall be a hostess for this video broadcast segment. This is the Amexem-Moor-Empire Perspective, segment 22, and it's entitled Importance of Accurate Reporting. So it is my honor once again to welcome back to this segment His Imperial Majesty and Anu El Bey. Peace and Islam, Your Imperial Majesty.
Peace and light, Islam, Nuwachini. Thank you for having me. How are you faring this evening?
Peace and Islam. All is truly well, and I'm trusting all is well with you likewise.
Islam, it is. Good to be here.
Islam. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Today's segment is Importance of Accurate Reporting. So it has come to our attention that it is said a man called Ibrahim Traore is doing business as a captain in the army of Ouagadougou. He's in charge of the junta controlling Ouagadougou, and it has been reported that he's the first to establish a rail corridor without the assistance of Europe or the East or the corporation doing business as the District of Columbia. Is that an accurate reporting? Islam.
Islam. All right. I am familiar with Captain Traore. He does lead the junta now in Ouagadougou, in the Sahel. There have been many actions across the continent over the last 70 Earth years or so, when the colonial powers were allegedly withdrawn overtly, but covertly never actually did, and continued to meddle in the affairs of their colonies. They took the word colony off in the public view. However, behind the scenes, they remained as default colonies through the Paris Club or through the Commonwealth. Same cereal, different box. So Tanganyika, when they were walking away from Londinium's control, allegedly, they were seeking to modernize by getting some rail scenarios going and improving the port system. Of course, no one would actually provide them with the quote-unquote financing. Beijing stepped in and said that they would help with the financing and help them to build it. So they have a long, I'm going to use the word history. They have a long relationship when it comes to that between them. The Maputo Rail Corridor was built, and it runs into Azania. I don't have all the details on the design and operation intent for the rail corridor that Captain Traore is suggesting or moving upon. 24 Earth years ago, I presented my rail corridor for that whole region, actually. Taking the deep sea port of Lagos, as some would call it, and attaching it via rail corridor to Niamey, putting the railhead in Buban, outside of Niamey. So attaching that rail corridor from the deep sea port in Lagos to the Trans-Sahel, which is what some would call a quote-unquote highway. So you can take landlocked Mali Beni Warith, Mangina, or Burkinab, which is where Ouagadougou is. So run the Trans-Sahel from Zanaga district. I would put extension to Tuba and let it run through Mali Beni Warith through Burkina, working its way into Niamey, passing its way all the way into N'Djamena. That's where it would terminate. So all those areas would have access to a deep sea port via intermodal rail. So flatbeds can take the truck chassis, or the container rather, off of the rail platforms and put them onto truck chassis and run them. So the landlocked areas now have access to the deep sea port in Lagos, as some would call it, running multiple pipelines underneath that rail bed, carrying water to be desalinized internally, natural gas for those that need it, oil, and the fiber optics lines for communications. I designed that years ago and moved to look at the migration paths for the animals. So certain places, the rail corridor is above ground, other places it's below ground. And because certain areas of northwest, what we call the Omatao district, misnomer corporate Nigeria, is actually a little bit marshy, prefer to run the rail underneath that. There's multiple tracks now. The local tracks, the express tracks, the maglev tracks exclusive, and the tracks for service. And there's rail spurs and maintenance yards all along the way. There are express stops, Ilorin, Zuru, Iwo, and some other places from Niamey into Lagos. So that takes care of industry, to do it in a collaborative way, to do it in an environmentally sustainable way. How I proposed to do this years ago, and even to this day, the Amexem-Moor-Empire Imperial government would pay for the rail corridor construction. Abuja would pay for the defense and security of the construction and the operation. Eventually, the Imperial Customs Force and the Imperial Defense Force would take that over and make it either a joint operation or just take it over overtly. Niamey would pay for the workers' comp insurance and all manner of insurance for the construction, operations, and maintenance of the rail corridor. So 50% of the proceeds from all the oil, the nat gas, the water, and fiber optics usage that goes through that rail corridor, and for all trains and all commercial trains, maglev and otherwise, going through that particular corridor, whatever proceeds are generated, 50% would go to the Amexem-Moor-Empire Imperial government, 25% would go to Abuja, 25% would go to Niamey. So everyone would win. So folks would say, well, how are you going to pay for that? $25 million loan that was made by our ancestors was never repaid. The interest, penalties, and fines are trillions in gold. But to use some of that to put that rail corridor in place, to do some things in North Amexem, Central Amexem, South Amexem, and my additional rail corridor. The Maputo rail corridor, I intend to add a branch to it and extend it and add maglev and additional rails, additional tracks. And again, bring in the fiber optics lines, the oil pipelines, the natural gas pipelines, and the water pipelines where necessary to bring in water from the oceans to be desalinized. I designed all that years ago. Now, when I was first doing this, we engaged the embassies of Niger and Niamey and New Jerusalem here on this side of the ocean. We knew they would never respond. That wasn't the point. The point was to be able to tell the locals on the ground, under the influence of Niamey, under the influence of Abuja and elsewhere, that we made this particular suggestion to proceed 24 Earth years ago. We knew that they never would, because the Paris Club wouldn't allow them, and the Commonwealth wouldn't allow them. Probably ECOWAS wouldn't have went for it either, because it wasn't their idea. That's not the point. We want to be able to tell our kith and kindred, we have to go around them, because they bow down to the colonizing hostiles and the melanated puppets. To do this, we got to do it without them. That's going to take a groundswell of the populations to back us up. Because we'll do it if you back us up. So I don't know how many Earth years Captain Trail has been on this planet. I know he's a young man. What I do know is 24 Earth years ago, I was already doing this. So if someone's saying he's the first to do this without any influence from the Far East, from Europe, or the corporation doing business as the District of Columbia, well, we're funding this on our own. We're contracting our own architects. We're contracting our own engineers. So in that context, I can say he's not the first. I'm not even going to say I was the first as your constitutional monarch. However, I'm not familiar with anyone else that has made the suggestion or moved to act upon it prior. This wasn't how to answer your question as you asked it, Noble Teen. Do you have a follow-on question for me?
In Islam, Your Majesty, yes, I have one question in two parts. So when you were going through the details for the corridor, you mentioned insurance and you mentioned defense.
I did.
So first part of my question is regarding the insurance. Is that during the establishment of the corridor, or is it throughout and after?
During establishment, during construction, establishment, and for the duration.
Islam. And can you go into a little bit of detail on why that is important?
Article 6 of our Constitution precludes particular things. So we can't, in Article 3 of our Constitution precludes particular things. So insurance is nothing more than organized gambling, and we can't do it. However, there needs to be coverage for those that's doing the work, for those that's actually making use of the services. So I want to make sure everyone's protected. So NEMA should take that on. The securing of that of the rail corridor for the duration, Abu should take that on. So when they're being provided with 25% of the proceeds, so that's, for every cubic foot of natural gas that goes through that pipeline, they're getting part of the proceeds. For every gallon or liter, depending on how we do it, of oil that's flowing through, or water that's flowing through the additional pipelines, they get a portion of that. For all of the transmissions that are going through the fiber optics lines, they get a portion of that. In other words, that could be very, very formidable amounts, very, very, very sizable amounts. So instead of having to dig everything out of your soil and quote unquote sell it all across the planet, eventually you run out of things to dig. You still need funds coming in. This is an excellent way to do something about that. So we're not looking to go over there and conquer. We're not looking to go over there and steal. We're looking to go over there and collaborate. Our intellect, you're already on the ground. You have the means to do the assurance, and you have the means to come in and secure and defend every inch of the corridor. We're looking to work with our family on both sides of the ocean, make it where everybody wins. No egos, no nonsense. And we're not going for the graft. We're not going for the corruption. We're not going for the bribery. There's going to be massive amounts of sting operations to shut all that stuff down. If you breathe hard, we're going to have it on camera, and we're going to come for you. We're doing it right. That's just one that I respond to what you asked me. Noble Teen, did you have a follow-on question?
So that was a question regarding, or first part of the question itself. The second part, I do believe you went into it, which was the defense part. I do believe you went over it, but if you do have any additional or follow-up detail that you would like to share, you may go ahead, Islam.
Haters are going to hate, and there'll be those who are colonial powers that's not going to be happy about particular things. They will send folks to sabotage. We expect it. We need to secure every inch, every centimeter or millimeter, whatever you want to say, of that rail corridor. They will do things underhanded. They will not play fair, as some would say. We don't expect them to play fair. So it's on us to do something about that. We got to secure and defend every inch of that corridor. We're going to have boxcars. We're going to have flatbeds. We're going to have tankers moving all types of materials, chemicals, and stuff like this. The gauge of the rail has to be precise. The canting has to be precise so you can make your turns without the trains derailing. We have to have tracks just for the service trains to come through to service the beds. If there's an accident, a derailment, we have to be able to handle all those things internally. In the old days, they called it BOT, build, operate, transfer. The colonials would build it, they would operate. When they were getting ready to hand it over, they stopped doing the maintenance on it. It was falling apart by the time they handed it over. Now they want you to pay them to come in and do something about it. We're not playing those games. We learned those lessons. We're not doing that again. Our folks are the engineers. Our folks are the architects. Our folks are providing every service tied back to the operation. If you're based anywhere in the Sahel, if you're based anywhere in the Gold Coast and your business is melanated and you would like to bid to be able to provide a particular service, we're taking bids. But you have to prove to us that you are not being handheld by the colonizing hostiles. So if you have a business that's multi-generational, uninvolved with the colonizing hostiles, we definitely going to consider you a bid. Of us, by us, for us. Us meaning at home and in the diaspora. We're under one flag, one constitution, one seal, one monetary policy. There may be several hundred clans. There may be several hundred tribes. We're working as one tribe within the Amexem-Moor-Empire. We're not looking to encroach upon folks' rights. We're not in that business. Whatever your traditions are, we figure out how to inculcate them in. We make it work for everyone. So don't get hung up on the Amexem-Moor-Empire. No. Don't get hung up on that. We are all one tribe as far as I'm concerned. The capital of the Amexem-Moor-Empire is on this side of the ocean. That is true. The financial hub, financial capital of the Amexem-Moor-Empire is literally in the center of the mother continent, Al-Qibla. And the time shall come when I will spend 5 months out of the earth here on the mother continent every year. When we're operational underway in Kush Harappa, I'll be spending time there as well. And time in the greater Asia. And then come back to this side of the ocean, just in time to work on the budget proposal and negotiate it out. As soon as that budget law is set, I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm going to all parts of the empire. Greater Asia, Kush Harappa, Al-Qibla, all throughout North, Central, and South Amexem, which is Greater Amexem for us. I will be going to the parts of Sector 5 that remain. So I may be in the Mero district from time to time. Wherever's left of the Albion district, I'll be there. I'll be in Northeast Al-Qibla. I might be with the Hashemites. I might be in Sumer. I won't be sitting in the Garden Medina all day, every day. I'm not that kind of constitutional monarch. I press flesh with our family all across the planet. And I'm bringing not just rail corridors. We got things to do to save lives and improve the quality of lives, transforming how our folks think, where they're no longer programmed what to think. They're demonstrated to become learned so they know how to think for themselves. We have a lot to undo here. And I'm hands-on when it comes to stuff like that. And that's just what I know how to respond to what you asked me. Do you have a follow-on question, Noble Tina?
Islam, that should suffice for this segment. I thank you once again for your time and for the information provided once again in this segment and for answering all of my questions. With that, I say thank you for your service and to our wonderful audience. For more information about the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Imperial Government, operations, contact is available through the website that we influence. That website is www.modernmoremonarchy.squarespace.com. The site again is modernmoremonarchy.squarespace.com. Do show us some love. Leave a positive comment. I would like it. We all would. And we say thank you in advance. So we encourage you to share the link for this video segment with all who you associate with. And until next time, on behalf of His Imperial Majesty, all of my fellow Amexem-Moor-Empire National all across the planet, we say peace, great health, prosperity upon all of you and upon all of us. And with that, we say Islam.